SIL announced her pregnancy at my baby shower, but her husband revealed he had a secret vasectomy. Now she's blaming me for ruining her marriage after her affair got exposed. I, 27F, have been happily married to my husband Joe, 29M, for 3 years now. We dated for 4 years before getting married, and from the beginning, we both wanted to start a family when the time felt right. His family is pretty tight-knit, and we've always been close, especially with Joe's parents and his brother Ross, 34M, who is married to Jenny, 32F. Jenny and Ross have been married for 6 years, and while we get along okay, Jenny's always had a bit of a competitive streak. She likes to be the first at everything, first to get married, first to buy a house, and first to have the perfect life, as she puts it. When Joe and I announced my pregnancy 3 months ago at a family dinner, Jenny's reaction wasn't exactly what I'd call supportive. While everyone else was hugging us and celebrating, she barely managed to smile. She kept making comments about how some people just get lucky right away and how younger couples just have it easier. I tried to brush it off because I knew they had been trying to conceive for a while, but Jenny's attitude started to turn what should have been a happy time into something uncomfortable. The pregnancy news seemed to fuel something in Jenny. From then on, she would make snide remarks whenever we were around. She would bring up how her marriage had been longer and how, of course, they would have children soon, once everything was perfectly planned, and that she wasn't in a hurry like other people. When Joe and I went to pick up some baby items that his mom had bought us, we heard from her that Jenny was always asking about my pregnancy symptoms and even trying to one-up me by talking about all the things she'd do differently once she was pregnant. I was trying to be patient because I felt bad about their struggles, but it was exhausting. Fast forward to last weekend at my baby shower, which was one of the happiest days of my life. My mom and mother-in-law worked together for weeks to make it perfect, going all out with the decorations, food, and games. They even rented a beautiful venue, and the room was decorated with soft pastel colors, little baby-themed ornaments, and flowers everywhere. Friends and family showed up with the warmest smiles and arms full of gifts, and I could feel their genuine excitement. For the first time in months, I felt completely at ease, just soaking in the joy, love, and support all around me. I was busy unwrapping gifts when, suddenly, Jenny stood upright in the middle of the room. I noticed her standing there, waiting for everyone to look at her, and then, with a big smile plastered on her face, she announced that she was pregnant too. She didn't just casually mention it, she made a grand announcement like it was her special day, like all eyes should be on her. The timing couldn't have been more deliberate. She waited until the room was quiet, right in the middle of my gift opening, when everyone was focused on me and the baby. I could feel the room's energy shift at that moment. People who had been watching me with joy now turned their attention to Jenny, clapping and cheering, and for a second, it felt like my baby shower had turned into her celebration. I managed to smile and even hugged her, saying congratulations, but inside, I was honestly a little bit frustrated. It was clear she'd been holding on to this news, just waiting for the right time to announce it in front of everyone. Part of me hoped that maybe this would finally make her happy and we could both enjoy our pregnancies together. But something felt off. I pushed those thoughts aside, though, trying to keep the day positive. Then, Ross, who had been sitting silently in the corner, suddenly stood up and looked at Jenny, saying, "I can't believe you did this." The entire room froze. I could tell from the expression on his face that he was upset, but I had no idea what was coming. Then he just blurted it out. He'd had a vasectomy 3 years ago. He explained that he'd never wanted kids, which Jenny knew, but that he'd strung her along, hoping she'd eventually let go of the idea. Ross was shaking, looking genuinely hurt and humiliated, and he kept repeating how he couldn't believe she did this. The room went completely silent. I think everyone was processing the shock at different paces. Jenny stood there with a look of horror on her face as the reality hit her that everyone knew the truth. I could feel people looking around the room, whispering, trying to make sense of it. Then, Jenny's expression shifted from proud to panicked, and she bolted out of the room, tears streaming down her face, with her mom quickly following her out. Ross stood there for a moment, looking completely broken, before he, too, left. It was like watching a bad dream unfold right in the middle of what should have been one of the happiest days of my life. The entire mood of the shower was shattered. The celebration just ended. My friends and family came up to me, trying to comfort me, but even they didn't know what to say. I was left standing there in shock, holding a half-opened gift in my hands, while people slowly started leaving, clearly uncomfortable with the whole situation. What was supposed to be a beautiful memory turned into a complete disaster. I felt hurt, embarrassed, and confused, and the reality of what just happened didn't fully sink in until later that night. The following day, the fallout started to unfold in full force. I began getting a stream of nasty messages from Jenny. She blamed me for ruining her marriage and claimed that if I hadn't gotten pregnant, she wouldn't have felt so pressured to find alternative methods. Her exact words, to get pregnant. She even accused me of getting pregnant first just to spite her, which made no sense. How could I have known any of this? It was like she was rewriting the entire situation to make me the villain. Then, as if the messages weren't enough, I started hearing from extended family members. Jenny was reaching out to them, telling them that my pregnancy was the reason her marriage was now falling apart. She had twisted the entire situation, making it sound like my baby was to blame for her choices. I had no idea what she was telling them, but some family members even reached out to me to ask if it was true if I had somehow known about Ross's vasectomy or if I had done something to cause all this drama. It was like she wanted to turn everyone against me, and I couldn't understand why she would go to such lengths. Joe was devastated too. He loved his sister, but he couldn't condone her actions, and he was torn between supporting me and dealing with his family's reaction. My in-laws were equally shocked and hurt. They were trying to figure out how their seemingly perfect daughter-in-law could do something so deceitful and destructive. They tried to mediate, but it was clear that Jenny was spiraling, refusing to take any responsibility. Right now, I feel so trapped because of all of this. My doctor even warned me to be careful with my stress levels, reminding me how it could affect the baby, but it was impossible to relax with Jenny dragging my name through the mud and creating so much family tension. Blocking her on social media and my phone gave me a little peace, but it was short-lived. She just kept going, using other family members as messengers. I am overwhelmed, heartbroken, and utterly lost. This was supposed to be a joyful time in my life, but the chaos she created left me feeling confused about what to do next. I feel so stuck in the middle of this mess, and I don't even know how to move forward. Any advice? Update 1. The fallout since my last post has been intense. I knew things were bad, but I never imagined just how messy this situation would get. Yesterday, Ross officially filed for divorce from Jenny, and everything came to a head. Ross's announcement hit everyone hard, but the worst part was when the whole truth about Jenny's pregnancy came to light. It turned out that Jenny had been having an affair with her personal trainer for the past 8 months. She thought she could pass off the pregnancy as Ross's child, assuming he'd be none the wiser. She had no idea about his vasectomy, and it backfired in the worst way. The trainer, as it turns out, is married with 3 young kids of his own. When everything came crashing down, his wife found out too. The wife, someone I'd never met or even heard of before, actually reached out to me on Facebook. Her message was a total surprise, but I could tell right away that she was kind-hearted. She apologized to me for her husband's role in this disaster, expressing how hurt and blindsided she felt. She told me she was filing for divorce as well, and we ended up having a long conversation, sharing our stories. In a weird way, it was comforting to talk to someone who was also affected by this tangled mess, even if I hadn't met her before. Neither of us deserved to be pulled into this, yet here we were, both trying to make sense of it. Since Ross filed for divorce, the family has been completely split over the whole issue. Some are supportive of Ross, saying that Jenny's betrayal is unforgivable, especially because she lied about something as huge as a pregnancy. Others, surprisingly, have started taking Jenny's side. They argue that Ross's secret vasectomy somehow pushed her into this. They seem to think that if he'd been open about his choice not to have kids, Jenny might not have felt so desperate. It's caused a lot of tension between family members, and honestly, I don't know how they're managing to take sides in something so complicated and hurtful. Meanwhile, Joe has been my rock through all of this. He's been amazing at shielding me from the family drama as much as possible and keeping my stress to a minimum. He's made it clear to everyone that his top priority right now is keeping me and our baby safe and as stress-free as possible. Every time family members start trying to drag me into the drama, Joe firmly steps in and shuts it down. It's been a relief to have him by my side, handling everything with such care, but it's heartbreaking to watch him deal with the pain of seeing his family torn apart. Jenny, on the other hand, hasn't let up. She's moved in with my in-laws for now, and she's been telling anyone who will listen that my pregnancy announcement is the reason her marriage fell apart. In her mind, she thinks that if I hadn't gotten pregnant first, she wouldn't have felt pressured to take desperate measures, as she puts it. It's frustrating because my pregnancy had nothing to do with the choices she made or the secrets she kept. But she's trying to spin the story so that I'm somehow responsible for the situation. Even worse, she's telling her parents and some of Joe's extended family that I deliberately tried to outshine her with my baby news, which couldn't be further from the truth. Joe's parents have been caught in the middle. They've asked the entire family to give Jenny some space while she processes everything. My in-laws are devastated and confused, and I can see how hard they're trying to support both Ross and Jenny. They've always seen themselves as a close, supportive family, so this has turned their world upside down. I can't blame them for struggling to balance everything, but I wish they wouldn't let Jenny's stories get under their skin so easily. It hurts to watch them feel torn between loyalty to Jenny and the reality of what she's done. To make things even stranger, some of Joe's cousins have started acting weird around me. A few of them even reached out, hinting that maybe I should have waited a little longer to have a baby. The implication was that my timing was somehow selfish or inconsiderate because I didn't know what Jenny and Ross were going through. It's infuriating. I can't believe that anyone would expect me to plan my life around another couple's private struggles. Joe has had to step in and set the record straight more than once, reminding everyone that we had no idea about Ross's vasectomy or Jenny's affair. We were just living our lives, excited to start a family, and we never expected it to cause this kind of chaos. Every time I turn around, it seems like there's more fallout from this mess. Even my doctor has cautioned me to watch my stress levels because of how this could affect the baby. She suggested I try to keep things as peaceful as possible, which feels almost impossible with everything going on. Joe and I have been spending more time alone, going on quiet walks and planning the nursery to try and keep my spirits up. But no matter how hard we try to focus on our little family, Jenny keeps pulling us back into her drama. As if all of this wasn't enough, I heard from my mother-in-law that Jenny's trainer was actually someone she met through a mutual friend, and she'd been taking sessions with him at a nearby gym. They'd been secretly seeing each other outside of her training sessions, and apparently, Jenny had even told a few of her close friends that she thought the trainer understood her better than Ross did. It's bizarre to think that she was sharing this double life with people while pretending everything was perfect with Ross. Jenny's behavior has gotten more erratic too. She's been calling my mother-in-law at all hours, crying and begging her to convince Ross to reconsider the divorce. She seems to think that if she can convince everyone that her affair was just a mistake brought on by the pressure of my pregnancy, she'll get the support she needs. She's told her parents that Ross's vasectomy was a betrayal, as though that makes her own choices more justifiable. It's exhausting to see how far she's willing to go to dodge responsibility. Now, I'm at a loss for what to do. I want to focus on my pregnancy and prepare for the arrival of our baby, but the family drama feels all-consuming. Joe has been so strong for both of us, but I can see this is weighing heavily on him. He's torn between wanting to support his sister and recognizing that she crossed serious lines. The family gatherings we once enjoyed now feel like battlegrounds, with everyone walking on eggshells and whispering about whose side they're on. I feel like I'm living in a soap opera I never wanted to be a part of. All I wanted was a joyful time preparing to bring our baby into the world, and instead, I'm dealing with accusations, divided family members, and the stress of watching my in-laws suffer. I don't know how to move forward or how to avoid getting sucked further into this situation. It's overwhelming, and I just wish I could put a pause on everything and get some clarity. I'm feeling stuck, and I have no idea how to fix it. Update 2. Things have spiraled even further since my last update, and I'm at a loss as to how any of this could be real. Just when I thought the family drama had reached its peak, Jenny's personal trainer made a surprise appearance in the situation. But it wasn't anything like what Jenny had probably hoped for. A few days ago, the trainer sent Joe a direct message on social media, essentially throwing Jenny under the bus. He claimed she had lied to him for months, saying she was already divorced and that Ross was just her ex-husband. He said he'd had no idea she was still married the entire time they were involved, and now he's understandably furious with her for putting him in the middle of this mess without his knowledge. This news has caused yet another rift in the family. Those who had been giving Jenny the benefit of the doubt, saying that Ross's secret vasectomy drove her to act out, suddenly started to see the depth of her deception. Her own actions, especially lying to the trainer about being divorced, were starting to look less like a desperate, one-time mistake and more like a calculated plan. The trainer's wife also sent Joe a bunch of screenshots that showed Jenny had been actively pursuing her husband well before I even announced my pregnancy. She'd apparently started flirting with him and making suggestive comments as soon as she'd signed up with him for training. These screenshots have been shared among some family members, and it's completely changed the narrative. Jenny had told everyone that she felt pressured and desperate to have a baby because of my pregnancy announcement, but the messages showed she was planning her own thing long before that. It's become clear to everyone that this mess didn't happen because of my pregnancy, it was Jenny's choices all along. It's painful to see the truth come out this way, but at least it's helping some family members understand that this had nothing to do with Joe and me. While all of this is going on, Ross's lawyer contacted Joe and me because Jenny is apparently trying to use my pregnancy as part of her divorce defense. She's been telling everyone that my announcement led to emotional distress that supposedly pushed her into these decisions. Her lawyer is somehow trying to work this angle to get her a better settlement, which is absolutely senseless. Our family lawyer assured us that this argument would never hold up in court. Still, he advised us to keep copies of all the messages, social media posts, and anything Jenny has been spreading about us. It feels bizarre to be advised to document my pregnancy as though it were some kind of incident, but here we are. In an especially shocking twist, we found out that the trainer isn't even the father of Jenny's baby. Ross, who's completely done with the situation, didn't even care to ask who the father was, but when he heard from the trainer, he was floored. Apparently, Jenny's trainer demanded a paternity test after finding out she was still married, and it came back negative. Jenny's explanation to her parents was vague at best. She tried saying that she was confused and couldn't remember exactly when her pregnancy started. But given the messages that have come to light, most of us suspect that she might have been involved with more than just the trainer. It's been incredibly awkward because now people are speculating about who the father might be, and Jenny isn't giving anyone a straight answer. My mother-in-law is devastated, especially since she'd already started picking out baby clothes and toys, thinking she'd soon have a second grandchild. She's been putting on a brave face, but I can see how heartbroken she is, especially after all the hope she had invested in Jenny's pregnancy. To make things worse, she has to deal with people asking her uncomfortable questions every day. Family, friends and neighbors who heard about Jenny's pregnancy before all of this blew up have been congratulating her and asking about the baby, not knowing the reality behind it all. It's a painful reminder of everything that's fallen apart. Things took an even more bizarre turn when Jenny decided to post a long, emotional rant on social media. In her post, she poured out a sob story about how everyone had turned against her, claiming she was being abandoned by her family at a time when she needed them the most. She painted herself as the victim, saying that she made a mistake because of intense emotional pressure, especially after seeing me announce my pregnancy. According to her, she was going through a dark time and made bad choices, but her family's reaction has been unforgivable. She even implied that she was being cast aside by people who were supposed to care about her. Her post stirred up quite a reaction. Some of her friends and acquaintances were quick to sympathize with her, leaving comments like "Stay strong. And real family wouldn't abandon you like that." Others weren't so kind, calling her out for blaming her actions on everyone but herself. One commenter even asked, "Are you seriously blaming someone else's pregnancy for cheating on your husband? Grow up." Her post quickly turned into a battleground of opinions, and now it feels like the drama has spilled into every corner of our lives. To make things even more surreal, Jenny's post attracted the attention of her trainer's wife, who left a comment basically confirming everything that happened and calling out Jenny's lies. She exposed Jenny's initial deception about being divorced and mentioned how Jenny had pursued her husband before my pregnancy announcement was even made. That comment sparked a whole new round of reactions, with people slowly realizing just how many lies had been told. Jenny's story started falling apart right there in the comments for everyone to see. The family's attempts to get through this mess have been painful to watch. My father-in-law has completely withdrawn, barely speaking to anyone, while my mother-in-law is torn between anger and heartbreak. She had such high hopes for Jenny's pregnancy, only for everything to come crashing down. She's tried to talk to Jenny multiple times to understand her side, but it seems every time they talk, Jenny just makes it worse. Jenny keeps insisting that the family doesn't understand the pressure she was under and that none of this would have happened if she hadn't felt so left behind. It's frustrating because, no matter how many times people try to explain that this has nothing to do with my pregnancy, she just won't accept it. Joe and I have been trying to keep our distance from the drama, but it's been difficult. Family gatherings have become tense and uncomfortable, with people avoiding certain topics or talking in hushed voices about the situation. Joe and I even had to miss a recent family dinner because his parents couldn't guarantee that Jenny wouldn't show up and try to cause a scene. It's gotten to the point where we're seriously considering staying away from family functions until the baby is born, just to keep the stress levels down. As for me, I'm just exhausted. I'm doing everything I can to protect my peace and focus on what really matters, but it feels like the chaos won't end. I'm just hoping that, in time, this storm will settle, and we'll finally be able to move forward without all this hanging over us. Update 3. Hello, everyone. It's been a while since my last update because I decided to take a break from everything for my own health and peace of mind. The past few weeks have been a roller coaster, and Joe and I agreed that the best thing for our little family was to step back from the chaos and refocus on what truly matters, preparing for our baby's arrival. First, a huge thank you to all of you who have been supportive and kind throughout this situation. A lot of you had questions, and I thought I'd answer some here. Several of you asked about my health, and I'm happy to report that I'm doing well. The distance from the family drama has done wonders for my stress levels, and I've been feeling a lot more relaxed. Joe and I have even been able to enjoy some quiet moments just decorating the nursery and focusing on ourselves, which has been a blessing. A question I saw a lot was about how Jenny didn't know about Ross's vasectomy, and honestly, I don't fully understand it either. From what Joe's parents have told us, Ross apparently had the vasectomy in secret a few years ago, without telling her. How a couple can make such a major decision without any communication is beyond me. It sounds like Ross didn't want children and hoped Jenny would eventually drop the idea, but instead of being upfront, he thought he could avoid the topic by quietly having the procedure done. When this all came to light, it was almost as if Ross's secrecy gave Jenny the justification, in her mind, to act out and make her own terrible choices. The lack of communication on both sides was just a recipe for disaster, though that doesn't excuse Jenny's actions at all. One development I didn't see coming was my mother-in-law's shifting perspective on everything. Up until recently, she was heartbroken but still willing to support Jenny through her pregnancy, convinced that her motherly love could help salvage something from this mess. But now, she has told us that while she'll still be there to help Jenny with things related to the pregnancy, she doesn't want any relationship with her beyond that. She felt a duty to her grandchild and thought, at the very least, she could provide support for an innocent child coming into a difficult situation. Meanwhile, Jenny has been going through her own drama as her divorce proceedings with Ross move forward. From what I've heard, Ross is pressing for a quick resolution, as he just wants to put everything behind him. He's asked his lawyer to finalize things as quickly as possible, refusing to negotiate on certain terms that Jenny was hoping to contest. Jenny has been pushing back, dragging things out, and even tried to bring up my pregnancy once again as a contributing factor to her distress, which Ross's lawyer immediately dismissed as irrelevant. Apparently, Jenny hoped to use her pregnancy as a bargaining chip to secure a better outcome, but it seems like Ross is no longer willing to compromise after everything she's put him through. One surprising twist in all of this was when a mutual acquaintance reached out to me. This person, who knows both Jenny and the trainer's wife, shared that Jenny had allegedly been reaching out to other men around the same time she started her affair with the trainer. It's like every new detail that comes out just confirms how reckless Jenny was. Knowing all of this has made it clear that her choices weren't simply about wanting a child, they were about seeking attention and validation, without a thought to the consequences. While Joe and I have been keeping our distance from the family, we've had a few hard conversations about how to handle things going forward. We've decided that, at least for now, we won't be attending any family events where Jenny is present. Joe and I have also decided to set some boundaries with family members, letting them know that we won't be discussing Jenny or her situation anymore. We know this isn't the end of all the drama. Jenny and Ross have plenty to work out on their own, and from what I've seen so far, I'm sure there's more chaos ahead for them. But, thankfully, that's not our business anymore. Joe and I have both agreed that it's best to leave their issues in their hands and not let it bleed into our lives. We're ready to focus on our own family and the peaceful life we want for ourselves and our baby. I'm so grateful for all the support, advice, and kind comments I've received from so many of you. It really helped to have a space where I could vent and get some outside perspective when things felt overwhelming. You've reminded me that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's essential, especially when it comes to protecting my health and peace of mind. Hopefully, there won't be any need for more updates, and we can finally get back to our normal lives, focusing on the good things ahead. Thank you all for your support and for helping me see things clearly through this wild journey. Ciao, everyone.